There is a stillness within each of us that, when cultivated, becomes a guiding compass through the movements of life. This inner stillness is not silence of sound, but silence of confusion. When we are in the presence of someone with destructive intent, this stillness is the first thing that trembles. Before a word is spoken, before a gesture is made, the body already knows. The breath becomes shallow, the heart slightly guarded, and the skin tightens. The internal bell has been struck. Evil does not always come in dramatic form. It slips in like a shadow during dusk, barely noticeable until the light has faded. The one who disturbs your inner peace often does so without any clear aggression, but their presence leaves you feeling fragmented, uncertain, as if your mind is pacing without direction. This is not intuition based on fear. It is awareness built from stillness. The body is the first instrument to signal something is wrong. Observe how your posture changes around certain individuals. Do your shoulders rise? Does your jaw clench? Are you breathing fully? These are not just physical reactions. They are your deeper wisdom alerting you that something is misaligned. The disturbance is not outside of you. It is what has been triggered inside of you by the presence of that person. An evil person does not always shout or strike. Instead, they stir unrest. They plant doubt. They move the energy of a room without saying much. And yet, the effects ripple. After speaking with them, you feel more confused, more tired, more distant from your center. This disturbance is not incidental. It is often intentional, even if unconscious. They thrive not in calm waters, but in stirred ones. If you find yourself constantly justifying their behavior, explaining away your discomfort, or silencing your instincts in their presence, then you are already under the spell of the disturbance. Evil rarely enters through the front door. It creeps in through the back, through compromised boundaries, small concessions, and ignored feelings. The mind will try to rationalize because it fears being wrong or unjust. But the body holds no such concern. It only tells the truth. Inner peace is not just a comfort, it is a measure. That which robs you of peace without cause is a signal. A person who is truly aligned will bring calm even when they speak firmly. But a person who is destructive brings anxiety even when they speak sweetly. It is important to know that this disturbance is not weakness. It is clarity. To feel it is not paranoia. It is sensitivity. And sensitivity is the beginning of wisdom. You do not need to understand the full nature of someone to recognize the weight they place on your spirit. It is enough to know that your balance is being shaken without reason. The presence of such a person becomes an invisible noise, a frequency that causes your thoughts to race, your sleep to suffer, and your spirit to become tired without knowing why. And yet, the answer is already within you, waiting to be heard. The disturbance is the message. Pay attention. Manipulation is not always loud. It does not always wear the face of cruelty or aggression. Often, it arrives in the form of care, of understanding, of apparent wisdom. The manipulator speaks with gentle tones, but each word is a thread, designed not to lift you, but to tie you. And slowly, before you realize, you are caught in a web that is difficult to see and harder to escape. The true mastery of manipulation lies in its invisibility. A person skilled in this craft does not command your actions directly. Instead, they shift your perception. They twist reality not with force, but with subtle suggestion. They say, "I only want what's best for you," while steering you away from your instincts. They say, "You misunderstood me," when your heart clearly felt the sharpness of their intent. Manipulators are skilled illusionists. They present themselves as victims when they are the ones causing harm. They cry to avoid accountability, or they distract by pointing at the faults of others. Their goal is not truth, it is influence. They do not care whether you are right or wrong, only whether you are aligned with their version of the story. Their reality is not shared, it is imposed. A manipulator often studies you closely. They learn what you need, what you fear, what you long to hear. They provide just enough of what you desire to earn your trust, but always keep control. This is not generosity, it is investment. They give to bind, not to free. And once bound, you begin to feel a strange dependence, mistaking control for connection and obedience for harmony. The master manipulator thrives on your confusion. They want you to question your memory, your emotions, your judgments. They will say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You always overreact." These are not observations, they are tools. Each doubt planted in your mind weakens your ability to stand in your own clarity. And the weaker you feel, the stronger their hold becomes. Manipulators speak in circles. When confronted, they divert. When asked for clarity, they provide complexity. They say everything and nothing. This is not because they are misunderstood. It is because they are hiding. Clarity is the enemy of control. If you understood clearly, you would walk away. So they make sure you stay in a fog, always trying to figure them out, always second, guessing yourself. In the presence of such a person, you begin to feel tired, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. You feel as though you are always behind, always trying to catch up to the truth, which seems just out of reach. You find yourself apologizing more, even when you're not sure why. You stop trusting your own insight. This exhaustion is not incidental. It is engineered. The most dangerous thing about a master manipulator is that they do not force your submission. They guide you into offering it willingly. They rewrite the story so gently that you do not see the edits being made. And by the time you realize you are no longer the author of your own decisions, the pen has already been placed in their hand, like ghosts, never leaving fingerprints on the damage they cause. These are the ones who refuse to carry the weight of their own actions. Wherever they go, consequences follow, yet they always seem to escape responsibility. Their favorite tool is the shifting of blame. When something goes wrong, it is never them. It is the situation, the misunderstanding, the fault of someone else. The absence of accountability is not just a lack of apology, it is a refusal to grow. To accept responsibility is to meet oneself honestly, but for some, this honesty is too painful, too threatening to the fragile image they have built. And so, they create stories, they rewrite events, they paint themselves as the misunderstood, the mistreated, the victim of life's unfairness. Their narratives are carefully crafted shields. Those who avoid accountability are often skilled at appearing righteous. They use language of morality and fairness, but their actions contradict their words. They speak of peace, yet provoke conflict. They speak of truth, yet twist it when convenient. This contradiction is not accidental. It is necessary. Without it, they would have to face the mirror they so deeply avoid. They are quick to criticize others, yet allergic to criticism themselves. A single word of feedback becomes an attack. A moment of confrontation becomes a betrayal. They react not with reflection, but with defense, deflection, or silence. This is how they protect the image, even if it means damaging relationships. In their world, preserving the self is more important than repairing the harm. You will notice that such people collect excuses. Their vocabulary is full of reasons. Why it wasn't their fault, why someone misunderstood them, why the timing was bad, why their intentions were good even if the outcome was harmful. They believe that intention is enough to excuse impact. But intention without awareness is just a blind arrow. When you speak with them about the hurt they have caused, they may listen, but they do not truly hear. Their response is not one of regret. but of justification. They do not say, "I understand how I hurt you." Instead, they say, "That was not what I meant." There is no room for your pain in their narrative, only for their protection. In the presence of such a person, accountability becomes a one-way street. You are expected to own your flaws, your mistakes, your emotional responses. But when the time comes for them to do the same, they disappear into silence or shift the topic. This imbalance creates tension, resentment, and eventually mistrust. It is not conflict that destroys trust. It is the denial of responsibility within it. What is broken cannot be healed if the one who broke it insists their hands were clean. The absence of accountability is a refusal to participate in the sacred process of repair. It is a silence that speaks loudly, saying, "Your pain is not important enough for my reflection." And in that silence, respect begins to dissolve, slowly but surely. For, oh, you said, hidden delight in others' misfortune. Expend it in 8 paragraph and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. There is a form of darkness that wears a quiet smile. It does not shout or strike, it simply waits and watches. When others stumble, it feels a small satisfaction. When someone suffers, it does not weep, it feels entertained. This is the hidden delight in others' misfortune, and it is one of the most concealed yet corrosive forms of malice. It often hides beneath politeness. The person may offer condolences, may say all the right things, but their eyes linger too long on your suffering. Their comfort lacks warmth. Their support feels thin. There is a subtle hunger behind their presence, as though they are feeding on the drama of your downfall. They are not there to lift you. They are there to witness you fall a little further. This tendency is often masked by gossip. They speak of others' failures with a tone of concern, but their excitement betrays them. The story is told not to help, but to entertain. They cloak their enjoyment in the language of care. "I just feel bad for them," or "It's such a shame." But their smile is too relaxed, their words too rehearsed. They are not burdened, they are amused. People who delight in others' pain are often those who feel powerless in their own lives. Seeing others fall gives them a fleeting sense of control. It affirms their belief that everyone is struggling, that no one is truly better off. It levels the field in their mind. Rather than grow, they would rather see others shrink. It is not progress they seek, it is parity through ruin. You will feel it when it is happening. After sharing something vulnerable, you notice the way they lean in, not to understand, but to collect. You feel slightly more exposed after speaking to them, not because you opened up, but because something in their reaction made you feel observed instead of held. Their interest was not in your healing, but in your hurt. In relationships, this manifests as subtle sabotage. When something good happens to you, they do not truly celebrate. Their congratulations feel strained, their tone slightly off. But when something bad happens, they are suddenly attentive, available, curious. They come closer not when you rise, but when you sink. They are drawn to weakness, not out of compassion, but consumption. This type of presence can be deeply confusing. You may ask yourself, why do I feel worse after sharing with this person? It is because your pain became their entertainment. Even when no direct harm is done, the energy they carry is parasitic. They do not wound you with knives. They drain you with attention that pretends to care while secretly enjoying your collapse. This hidden delight often comes from unresolved resentment, comparison, or jealousy. But rather than confront these emotions and grow, the person chooses a darker route. They wait for life to humble others so they don't have to rise themselves. In this way, they keep their pride intact by rooting for the downfall of others. never realizing that such joy only deepens their own suffering. For, oh, you said, energy drainers and chaos spreaders, expend it in 8 paragraph and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Some individuals carry with them an invisible weight, but it is not their own. It is the weight they place upon others. When they enter a room, the atmosphere changes, not because of what they say, but because of the energy they bring. They are not loud in every case, but their presence feels like noise. These are the energy drainers and chaos spreaders, people who, without clear intention, disturb the balance of those around them. Their energy is restless. They are not anchored within themselves, so they move through the world in constant motion, emotionally, mentally, or even physically. This lack of inner stillness creates turbulence in every environment they enter. Around them, people feel unsettled. Conversations veer off course. Focus becomes harder to maintain, and a sense of urgency or discomfort quietly spreads. Often, these individuals present themselves as victims of constant crisis. They are always in the middle of something dramatic, some conflict, some injustice, some misunderstanding. But what goes unnoticed is the common thread. Chaos follows them not by accident, but by design. Without it, they feel empty. Drama becomes their fuel. Attention becomes their survival. Their words are often heavy, not because of volume, but because of frequency and urgency. There is always something wrong, something unfair, something unresolved. They speak in floods, not in streams. Listening to them feels like holding your breath, and when the conversation ends, you feel tired, not just because of their story, but because of how it was told. Energy drainers often disguise themselves as those in need, and while compassion is sacred, repeated exposure to such energy becomes depleting. You give and give, yet nothing changes. Their wounds are not meant to heal. They are meant to keep the connection alive. And so, your support becomes an anchor that drags rather than uplifts. Chaos spreaders lack internal order, so they unconsciously create disorder around them. They bring conflict where peace once lived. They turn small tensions into large explosions. They pit people against each other, often subtly, with questions, comparisons, or half-truths. They may not throw the fire, but they hand out the matches and disappear into the smoke. You notice a pattern over time. Your thoughts feel more cluttered after time spent with them. Your emotions feel more erratic. You begin to doubt simple things, question your clarity, lose your grounding. This is not because you are weak, but because their presence pulls you out of alignment. Just as some places calm you, some people uncenter you. Their influence is not always obvious. But if you find yourself needing solitude after being with them, needing to clear your mind, needing to breathe deeply just to return to yourself, these are signs. Not all storms are outside. Some storms walk beside us, dressed in friendship, concern, or conversation, yet carrying the wind of confusion wherever they go. For, oh, you said, a mask of righteousness, expend it in 8 paragraph, and don't add any ending sentence, ChatGPT said. Among the most deceptive forces in human behavior is the mask of righteousness. This is not true virtue, but the performance of it. It is not about living with integrity. It is about appearing to. The one who wears this mask speaks of values, principles, and justice, but their actions are not rooted in compassion. They are rooted in control. Their goodness is for display, not for the quiet service of truth. This person often holds the language of morality like a sword. They correct others not to uplift, but to dominate. Their sense of right and wrong is rigid, not because they care deeply about truth, but because their identity is built on appearing flawless. They are not seeking understanding. They are seeking authority, and they use the mask to justify their superiority. You may notice that around such individuals, you feel hesitant to speak freely, not because they are openly hostile, but because everything you say is placed under silent judgment. There is a sense that you are being measured, weighed, and possibly found lacking. Their presence does not encourage self-honesty. It encourages performance, and in time, your authenticity begins to shrink. The mask of righteousness is maintained with careful effort. These individuals are often highly concerned with reputation. They want to be seen doing the right thing, saying the right words, associating with the right causes. But when no one is watching, a different nature may emerge, one less patient, less kind, less stable. Their virtue is dependent on visibility. Without an audience, the mask begins to slip. This false righteousness often includes spiritual or intellectual superiority. They use teachings, ideologies, or beliefs as weapons. They quote sacred texts, recite wisdom, or speak of enlightenment, yet treat others with condescension. Their knowledge is not offered, it is imposed. Their wisdom is not a bridge, it is a wall. It is less about guiding others and more about guarding their own image. What makes this so harmful is the confusion it creates. People instinctively trust those who speak with conviction and moral language. But over time, there is a subtle dissonance. You see kindness in words, but coldness in eyes. You hear compassion in tone, but feel a lack of warmth. This gap between appearance and essence creates inner conflict for those around them. In their presence, criticism is rarely allowed. If you question them, you are accused of being disrespectful, unenlightened, or ungrateful. They hold themselves above reproach, using their supposed moral standing as a shield. And yet, true integrity never fears feedback. Only the mask does. It is not morality that defends itself so fiercely. It is the ego wearing the robes of morality. The person who wears the mask of righteousness is often more concerned with being seen as good than actually being good. They fear being ordinary more than being wrong, and so they speak of truth without embodying it, offer guidance without humility, and insist on justice without love. Their mask does not just hide who they are. It distorts the light around them, convincing others to follow a shadow in the shape of virtue. For